This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. Georgia is always on my mind, and it was a topic of conversation and debate on Legal AF, the leading podcast at the corner of U.S. law and politics, exclusively on the MeidasTouch network. My co-anchor and I, Ben Meiselas, co-founder of the MeidasTouch network, coincidentally, just talked about all the amazing recent developments you need to know about in Georgia, starting with a 9-page order by Judge McAfee, which just changed the weather in the room as to when we can expect the trials of the 19 co-conspirators. 2 are going to go forward in October as planned, Ken Chesbro and Sidney Powell. But when are the other 17 going? When is Donald Trump going? Are they going to try all 17 together? Are they going to try the 17 along with the 2? Is there going to be a big courtroom with 19 people? We dive into that analysis based on the order by Judge McAfee and the other developments that happened in Georgia that we think you should know on our recent episode of Legal AF, and here's the clip.
You know, and one of the things that Jack Smith also filed this week was a opposition to Donald Trump's request to have Judge Tanya Chutkan recused. And what Special Counsel Jack Smith pointed out is, one, Donald Trump is just misstating the law in the recusal motion because the statements that he's taking issue with, by the way, he's cherry picking portions of the statement and not giving the context, involve Judge Chutkan in sentencing cases, sentencing January 6th insurrectionists who have all been blaming Donald Trump for their conduct, and they've all been saying Donald Trump should go to jail and not them. And she's rejected that arguments, and she said things like, it is true that the people who you say directed you have not been charged yet, but that's not here nor there. You're responsible for your actions. Then she would sentence the insurrectionist. Then Donald Trump uses her saying that to say, see, she's biased towards me. I can't get a fair trial in front of her. And Jack Smith's like, no, she's just stating the facts. That's factual things that happened. And I know that the MAGA Republican Party lives in this world devoid of facts, devoid of evidence. You blame anything on the deep state, or when you threaten, attack people and commit crimes, you wave the Constitution around and you go, see, First Amendment, Second Amendment, and they don't even read what the freaking amendments say, and they don't even understand what the laws are. That no, you can't engage in threats at people. You can't attack people like that. Those are crimes. But I wanted to point out that motion that Jack Smith filed as well. And Jack Smith pointed out the legal standard is, in order to demonstrate that a judge's intrajudicial in-court statements rise to the level of being of creating bias against a party, you have to show that the judge has showed an absolute, like the standard is like an absolute clear antipathy and disgust, publicly discussed about in a court hearing about a individual. And Jack Smith said that Donald Trump falls far short of that. So there's no chance that Judge Chutkan's going to be recused.
They're not going to win on yet another attempt by Donald Trump. We're going to talk about a fourth one here during the podcast for Donald Trump to try to get rid of a judge he doesn't like. This is his continued campaign, which we've seen fail in Florida to try to remove Judge Middlebrooks. There's some new litigation with Judge Middlebrooks. I know, Ben, you've done or you will do a hot take on. He tried and failed in his attempt to get rid of Judge Merchan. He's trying to get rid of Judge Engoron, the civil fraud judge presiding over his civil fraud case. Going to lose there. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then Judge Chutkan, same thing. As they said in their papers, the Department of Justice said in the papers that they just filed based on the briefing schedule, very fast one that the judge set up. All the Donald Trump has, which is not the clear and convincing evidence of judicial bias to overcome the presumption of impartiality, right, under a reasonable person standard. And we're kind of missing a reasonable person in this analysis because Donald Trump is not the reasonable person standard. All they have left, Judge, is what they said in their papers, is insinuation of sinister motivation by you without anything else. And if that's all it took, All you got to do is file a motion to recuse the judge that you don't like, and you get rid of him. All you got to do is file we'll talk about it later, an Article 78 petition under New York law when you just don't like the judge, and you'll get rid of them. Everybody would be doing that. And that's why there's a presumption of impartiality by the person wearing the robe. If they've done something you don't like in the case, and it's within some version of their discretion, like you don't like how fast the trial setting got set by Judge Chutkin, or she makes another decision you don't like here and there. Okay, then step up, file an appropriate appeal at the right time, and argue to some appellate judge, who's the boss for this particular judge, that there has been reversible error, that they have abused the discretion they have, or whatever the standard of review is for that particular issue. But to come in now and say, we don't like the fact that in the course of a dozen or so more Jan 6 sentencings, when somebody argued that they should be given leniency in the sentencing because they were just following orders of the grand leader, the cult leader for them, and the judge is a human being and commented in response, that may be, but you're in front of me now, and we have to sentence you for your conduct. I have my own opinions about people that are not here. They said, oh, no, Donald Trump. She's got her own opinions about Donald Trump. We don't expect our jurists to be lobotomized before they get on the bench. They're allowed to read the paper. They're allowed to handle other cases that might impact on this particular one. They're allowed to be appointed by presidents that are not the person that's in front of them, or former presidents, and they are allowed to make comments like that, and it doesn't rise to the heightened level of disqualifying animus, disqualifying bias that's required. Otherwise, everybody would be doing this, and we wouldn't be able to get anything done in the courthouses in America.
You know, when it comes to MAGA Republicans, Donald Trump, it's all projection and confession. When they talk about, oh, banana republic, no. I am so proud of the way our jury system works. And it's not perfect. And juries don't always get it right. And judges certainly don't always get it right. But when you read and you evaluate thoughtful judges like Judge Tanya Chutkin, even when we're about to talk about Georgia, Judge Scott McAfee, who's been very thoughtful in his orders, who, by the way, is appointed by Republican governor in Georgia. It is important that we have an evidence-based system. And at the end of the show, we're going to talk about the full acquittal of Ken Paxton, the attorney general in Texas, who had his impeachment trial play out before MAGA Republicans in the Senate, and the MAGA Republicans who make up the Texas Senate heard all of this evidence, not from Democrats. The evidence came from Ken Paxton's own staff, Republicans, who said Ken Paxton was engaging in all of these bribes. Here's the evidence. Here are the bribes. Like, the evidence was right there. Here's the mistress. Here's everybody who he was bribing. Here's how it was done. Here are the emails. And then you have the Republicans in Texas at the Senate level, because Donald Trump makes a post on his social media platform. They go, hey, Donald Trump told us. That's not the country I want to live in. It's not the country any of us should want to live in. We should want to live in an evidence-based system.
Well, if you like that kind of conversation between two practicing lawyers who also have a little bit of politics in them, then you will like our long format podcast called Legal AF. If you got an hour and 15 minutes to give us on Wednesdays and Saturdays on the MeidasTouch Network, we'll give you 5 or 6 stories just like the one you saw. If you don't have time or you can't make that kind of investment, then we'll bring them to you in hot takes just like the one I just presented. Until the next hot take and the next episode of Legal AF, I'm Michael Popok reporting.
Hey, Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.